This is the Freeform Geode tutorial, and this design kind of takes geode to the next level. And the idea is to spread the geode across two nails at least, or more than you could certainly do more than two. But the idea is to have the pattern just sort of flow and the nail design flow across the nail, as opposed to just kind of being confined to just one, but sort of make it look like it's a bit of one cohesive design. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So the idea being that you're, no matter which direction you're kind of looking at it, that it sort of just kind of looks like it flows from one nail to the next. Now this was set up to work off of my two middle fingers, and sort of like this. And so it just kind of flows from one nail to the next. You can obviously do this on whatever nail you wanted to do it, but when you kick your nails back and look at your hand and that beautiful mani, the pattern basically would flow off the nails like so. But you can do this however you want, however which way. The idea is that they just flow. So things that you'll need for this: gel base and a gel top coat. A UV lamp rated for your gel, whatever gel system you're using. I'm using Sparkle & Co.'s gel base and gel top coat for this. You're also going to need a dip powder or glitter, something with large flakes. And there's a reason I'm using Mani Mix's Gallifrey, and it is a gorgeous powder. And just a gorgeous color that has that just doesn't really do justice in this light, but it has some really nice large mylar flakes, and it works really well for this particular design. If you're not familiar with them, and Beth's work, go look her up. She has some really phenomenal powders. This is Gallifrey. It's kind of asphalty looking, but those mylar flakes are beautiful. Other things you're going to need are art gel. If you don't have it, that's fine. You can use gel polish. That will work too. I am using Luxa's art. These are gel art pods from Luxa, and I'm using the colors silver. This is Silver Lining, Blanc, and Noir. And so that's the white and the black. Also, you're going to need alcohol markers. Alcohol-based markers, I should say, and I'm using two different colors. I just realized I have one that is not the right color blue in there, but I'll fix that later. But basically, it's a darker one and a lighter one and a gray. You also need isopropyl alcohol and small brushes. And this is the Wistonia Fine Line brush. You can find those on Amazon. And this was just one I got from Sally's, but it's really kind of cute. I'm going to use it for cleaning up, but it's kind of ratty, but it has a dotting tool on the end. That's very helpful. But the brush itself is just kind of ratty right now. It's old. If you don't have a dotting tool, an orange wood stick works for helping to position those flakes. Oh, moving on, my nails have already been prepped, and I have them already painted and ready to go. And these are just gel painted, and I don't have them dipped or anything. I wanted, and they're top coated, which is very important when you're beginning this process. So you want to make sure that you do apply your top coat to this. And I am using Luxa Polish Gel Color. This is Third Time's a Charm, which is a gorgeous little sort of milky off-white color. Just so our white actually pops in our design. I want it to pop. So now I'm just going to sit here and play around with how I want to position these, and we need to figure out how do we want this design to go. And I'm kind of flipping these upside down to kind of give me an idea about how my fingernails would look if I was looking at them. So we're going to get our gray marker here because we're going to mark out how our design is going to go across the nails. And you can do this many different ways, but basically it's from one side to the other, and we're just going to kind of flow it across. But we need to figure out how that's all going to go. And We can go from one side to the left to the right from the top to the bottom. However you want to do it. It doesn't matter. This is nature and art and wherever the spirit takes you and the wind is blowing. So I'm going to start, I think, from here on my nail. You can't see it, but I think I'm going to start from the top and flow it to the middle, to the inside of my middle finger. So let me reposition these around. And so we're going to start drawing. Now we're just going to sketch out our line. I think I'm doing them this way just because I did the last set the opposite way. I went from the larger nail, from my middle fingernail, down to my ring fingernail. So I think I'm doing this the opposite way just because I can. Now we're just going to sketch it, like I said, sketch it all the way across. And this is a useful trick, tip, whatever, for making sure that you have consistency across a nail design, especially if when you're doing more than one nail. Just tidying, kind of fixing that a little bit. So there we go, we get a good idea, just this sort of where this is going to be. And never mind this line, if we don't like it, because we've top coated this, we can wipe this off with just some alcohol. All right, now we're going to take our base coat, and I'm going to put a nice little dollop here on this plate, and then we're going to take this. Oh, wait, bring that back. Not done with that. Not done with that yet. I'm going to take that, and we are going to carve a path out. Well, it's not really carving. We're going to paint a path. There we go. Along that line. Sort of starting our little river of base coat. And oh, I think I got too much. Oh, too much, still too much, still too much. Okay, back to work. There we go. That's better. Now we're just kind of ease that on there. And go on to the next one. And we do the same thing. We do the same thing with this one. And we're just going to kind of ease it on down. Just like that. And if we make a mess or we have something that we don't like it, we're just going to take a brush dipped in some alcohol, and we're just going to wipe that across and clean it up. And we can also kind of move the line if we want it to be thicker in some places or thinner in some places. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be precise. There's no precision involved with this. This is art, and this is very free form, so you want it to kind of really just be open. And now we're going to take our dip powder here, and I'm going to use the edge of my cuticle pusher, and I'm kind of just pushing all of the big chunks, the big mylar flakes out of the way. I don't really need those right now. So we're going to sugar the top of this. So I'm just going to use the dip powder, maybe some of the smaller mylar chunks, but the glitter and the powder and obviously the, whatever, we just want the color out of this and the glitter. And we're just going to sugar the top of this, dust off the top, whatever, just kind of shake off the top, whatever falls off each time. And the glitter is only really going to stick to where that base coat is applied. It's not going to stick anywhere else. And if we do make a mess someplace and it looks a little, it's not where you want it, here we go. We're just going to kind of clean that up and tidy that up a little bit. Now I'm going to take my brush. This is the fine line brush. And I'm going to wet that into the base coat. And now we're going to just pat that into those empty spaces where the base coat, or where the powder is a little bit thin. And I'm doing this one for two reasons. One is to fill in those voids, but the second part is to basically just to get that wet again so we can apply our mylar flakes and or glitter, depending upon whatever you're using. For me, in this particular design, it's mylar. But first, I'm going to sugar it again. This is round 2 for sugaring. Real quick. And it's okay. Like I said, there's a small mylar flake. It's fine because we're onto this portion. And now comes the fun part, which I'm just going to go ahead and speed up because it's kind of time consuming, is just placing those beautiful flakes. And for this, it's pretty much organized chaos. They're filling a pattern, but not in any kind of organized, any kind of specific way. So we want them to just fill the space up, but not be, it's more like a mosaic. Probably is probably the best way to describe this. So again, like I said, they don't have to be perfect. We are not striving for perfection here. Nature is not perfect. Nature is messy. And now we're on to the next one. On to our other nail. And just popping those in there. However they'll fit, whatever shapes will fit, like that. And we get some nice, good light reflection off the different angles. All right, we're going to have the, well, after we have cured that, you want to cure that before moving on to this step. Now we're taking our silver art gel, and now we're going to trace a line. I'm going to trace the outside of this design. And we're just going to kind of just patting that into there, into this. And it's kind of really freeform. Some places it's going to be thick, some places it's going to be kind of thin. But I wanted to just kind of trace it along the outer edge of this little riverbed. I just want to kind of, if I can get it into some of the little nooks and crannies, it just kind of helps give it a little more texture. Not be like a straight line. I don't want it to be a straight line. I want it to kind of be a little, have a little more added. Gosh, I sped this up and I wish I could work this fast all the time. I just want it to kind of be, like I said, just uneven, a little rough, and that's what we want. That's the kind of look that we're going for with this. I'm just gonna if you like it in some places, that's great. That just keep, if you want a little more in some other places, add a little bit more. Make it a little bit thick in some areas, thin it out in another area. Whatever makes you feel good. However makes you think it's happening. Here, I'm going to bulk out this one little side. And I'm going to flip it around to balance that out and do the other half on the other side. Just a little bit. And just add a little bit of bulk to that. And now we're going to do the other nail. And I've already just little touches to make sure that I like it. So there we go. There's the two of them. A couple more spots. Why not? Why not? Right? Why not? Okay. And then you're going to go on ahead and cure that before we go on to black. We're going to put the black on here. And this is the black part. If you can see it in the design above, it's the two finished pieces above. They're going to add depth to this. And again, it's going back to making this feel a little more dimensional. So you're going to take the fine line brush. We, of course, will clean this before putting it into that gorgeous pigmented black. So we are here now. It's going to just kind of pat that into the spaces in between those flakes and some of the other spots along that silver. And I've kind of just skipped ahead in this just to kind of, but it kind of gives you an idea there. But now I'm going to take this, whatever's left on my brush, whatever product is left, and I'm going to just tickle. There's not much left on there, but I'm just going to tickle the edge of the silver because the silver still has its dispersion layer on it because I've not wiped it off. And it's going to, we're just going to tickle the edge of that and let that tacky layer pull the product off my brush. And it does a pretty good job with that. So sorry, that's gone blurry a little bit right there. The camera's gone out of focus, but it just kind of pulls that off. And we're just kind of giving that a little bit of a shadow effect. And this all plays into just dimension, adding more dimension. Okay, and now we're going to speed this up and do this one. And then when we're satisfied with these, we will go ahead and cure them after this level. After this layering here, we're going to go ahead and cure this. Okay, now we're on to the white. And the white, we're going to do the same thing. So we're layering these colors on the outside. Now we're tracing outside of that silver and outside of that little black line that we've added. We're just going to go now and run this white bead around the outside. Now this one is a little bit thicker, thinner in some places, but thicker in some places, and thinner, thicker in some places, thinner in some places. But you want it to basically just follow the silver all around like that. I've already done the other one and it kind of went on a little thicker than I wanted to, so I'm going to go and clean this up a little bit. And I just wet my brush with some alcohol and I'm just going to pull the product off. Get some, a little bit more alcohol, and I'm just going to drag it off the brush. Just drag it off with the brush. And in some places, I'm actually pushing the art gel against the silver and just pushing it up into that to almost kind of give it a little more solid lift bulk, if that makes any kind of sense, but that's what we're looking for there. And if we're happy with it, go ahead and put them in under the lamp. Next up is the markers. And again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go on the outside of those, of that white, and we're just going to trace another line with the alcohol marker. And alcohol markers are fun to play with. There's a lot that you can do with these. And if you don't like what you've done, the beauty of these is you can pretty much wipe them off and start over. So now we've done the dark blue. Now we're going to take this lighter blue and we're going to go over the light with the lighter blue. And I'm gone about probably about 50% over the dark, what the darker blue line is. So I've not completely covered up all of the darker blue, but maybe about half of it. And I want it to kind of be a sort of a gradient effect. And if you've never videoed yourself doing your own art, I highly recommend it because you really see how much your techniques need work. So if you've never done that, you need to do it. All right, next thing is the gray. And we're going to put the gray line, and this one is going to be pretty a fine line. In some places I may not even have, I may kind of skip it, but I really even want just, again, it's here to add that next layer of dimension. And to give me a nice contrast, stark contrast against that milky, opaque white color there on the outside of the nail. I'm just kind of going back over that again, just kind of darken that up. And I'm going to clean this up again, dipping my brush in the alcohol again. And this is, just rubbing alcohol. Though you may want regular alcohol by the time you're done with this. That's up to you. Now, something very important with this particular design when you're using alcohol markers or Sharpies, you really need to let them dry and let that ink evaporate before you move on to the next step, because you just need to make sure that that happens. So I think I've given these enough time to set. So I'm going to take this one and may the nail gods forgive me. This is just a nail design sample. I would never do this to my real nail, but we're going to glob this on. But basically what you want to do, you don't want to quite take this much, but you want to float the gel across the design and kind of drag it just a little bit. And just massage it in. So remember what I said about making sure your design is dry before you proceed to this level? Yeah. So this happened, and it became a melted mess. So much that I had to take it down to its bare bones. Again, this is the beauty. If you have your top coat on, you can do things like this. If I didn't have the top coat on, that would have been even more of a hot mess. So because life is short, we're going to skip through a bunch of this. And so I've got both my blue layers on. Here goes the gray. Yeah, so really make sure those are dry. You really want to do that. And I'm cleaning that up. And you can even push, even kind of massaging a little bit of that gray line. But okay, looks pretty good. We're no worse for wear. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now we've let these dry. Like the first one has been sitting this whole time, so this one should be good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and try this again. Everybody hold your breath. And we're going to massage this in here. Just kind of work it over the design. Careful not to put too much pressure, like I said, because you don't want, it's okay if it melts a little bit. You kind of want that, but you don't want it to pull or like just disrupt the design underneath. And there we go. That's cured. So now we're going to put the top coat on. That survived. Yay! And now we're going to put the top coat on. And again, because these are just going to go on my wall, I'm not particularly caring about my method here. So, I would obviously never paint my nails this way. So this is just for these little designs that I'm doing, that I'm just kind of slapping this on here. At this point, I was so frustrated with that. I just wanted this to be over. All right, here we go, moment of truth. Yeah, so far so good. And I'm trying to be so careful. But just ease it on there. Again, like I said, you just want to just kind of work the gel across. across the design. And let's go. We cured it. It survived. Oop, missed a little spot over there, but it looks good. And note to self, I need more top coat. All right, let's get the top coat on. And hallelujah. There we go. In the home stretch. This part's a little easier. So there we are. There they are. My full 4 that I have done. So hopefully you've enjoyed this and found it useful and maybe picked up a couple of tips that you didn't know. And as always, I appreciate everybody's time. And leave comments if you want, questions, anything. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.